Hello, everyone. I'm Cheryl Hicks. I'm the Executive Director and CEO of the Toilet Board Coalition. We are a business platform accelerating the sanitation economy. The sanitation economy has the potential to transform sanitation systems from unaffordable public costs into marketplaces of exciting products, services, resources, and data. We have launched this video series to share the solutions, the business solutions that we've been working on with our platform of members over the last 5 years. And really pleased to have today with me Jay Bhagwan, our partner from the Water Research Commission in South Africa, to talk to us about the sanitation economy solutions that he finds most exciting as a sanitation expert in terms of the business solutions that have been evolving in South Africa. And then we will talk a little bit about the current global health crisis and its impacts on South Africa, as well as the future outlook. So welcome, Jay, over to you. Talk to us about your views as a sanitation expert on the most exciting areas of the sanitation economy where business is bringing solutions.
So Cheryl, we're in exciting times. I mean, who would think that a toilet economy would be a reality on a very shitty subject? No one dreams. So I think we in a space and pathway that is really, really full of opportunities and promises, and that's what energizes me around where we're heading. Around this concept of a toilet economy and the possibilities and the avenues it opens up around creating this pathway towards meeting the SDGs in a very, very different way, in a very, what I would call disruptive way, okay, that goes purely beyond this aid mentality around providing a service by, creating a whole business appreciation and value add into what we're trying to create. So this is where I think the thinking and the excitement has created the stimulus in sanitation. Unlike water, water had become too communal and, driven by connections in the pipes. What we see with the possibilities of sanitation, technology evolution, market evolution, product evolution, as well as service evolution, is this kind of leapfrogging into all these opportunities, provided we have an enabling set of political will, private sector interest, and user behavior that can make this a reality. So I think we at that cusp of breaking through this bubble. We've been doing exciting stuff. The Toilet Board has set a pathway at a global level, has set the thinking in the direction. Other partners have been complementing many of these global platforms and thinking, and beginning to localize it. And I think it's added value to our own mission in South Africa around us creating this new toilet future that we call sanity, okay? Bringing a whole lot of what you would call transformation to the sanitation sector. So the complementarity between the initiatives and the thinking of the Toilet Board with our own thinking have brought a lot of synergies for us to accelerate where we're going to.
Thank you, Jay. And indeed, we are on the cusp of accelerating our partnerships in South Africa as well, where there is a lot of innovation, really thanks to the Water Research Commission and the work that you've been doing with promising new technologies. And I wonder if you could talk about a few of those, because really a lot of innovation in South Africa, and particularly the circular sanitation models that we've been looking at together. Could you just highlight a few of those that you're most excited about?
So we believe, in our own strategy at the Water Research Commission that if you cannot ignite the circular economy component, you're going to struggle around all the other supply chain issues. So, the output and the endpoint must be around stimulating the circular element of the sanitation value chain, okay? Because that's where business behavior changes, that's where user behavior changes, and that's where market behavior change. So what we've done in South Africa, which is very exciting, and I think it's a little bit pioneering in the world in a way, is that we've created a government platform for introducing a whole new sanitation industrial pathway, okay? And though the industrial pathway is driven to create all these new products that would possibly take sanitation off the grid, in doing so, if established, at some point, it's going to open up the pathway to a whole new service industry, okay? And I think that's where it resonates with, the three rings of the toilet board initiative around, opening up the service economy, opening up the product economy, and opening up the value add industry, okay? And I think we taking that and we building these elements in our strategy to create a momentum that we include and be inclusive around how we roll out this industrial policy.
Thank you, Jay. And some of the uniqueness of South Africa's context is really around the intrinsic links of sanitation to water and water scarcity. And I wonder if you could highlight some of the promising technologies and how really I think the evolution of waterless technologies, for example, and low flush technologies are evolving in South Africa, because I think it's quite advanced and unique in South Africa that other regions and countries and businesses could look at.
So let's put it, the challenges in South Africa, one is a water issue. Okay, we are a water stress country, and we're a growing economy with a growing population, but we also have a very dark history we come from, with a great amount of inequity, okay? So, with that as a background, with those elements at the background, we see this as an opportunity, okay, of actually changing the development pathways that many developing countries go, where, they do not have uniform levels of service. So we're using the toilet, the toilet initiative and the toilet paradigm around being instrumental in setting a future where there is uniform levels of service, whether you're rich or poor, okay? The solutions is going to apply to you. And what we're going to do through that process is bring equity, firstly, across service delivery, through the whole economic chain of people. Whether you're rich or poor, you will get, okay, the same type of service. So that's the first part. While we're doing that, we're also trying to deal with our water stress issue. And we know that into the future, flushing human waste is going to become a luxury, okay? And, besides being the financial constraint around putting in large infrastructure for getting water and then putting large infrastructure to flushing away, it just creates a whole marginalization that a certain section of the population will never realize, anything better in the future. So this creates a new pathway to decouple sanitation from a typical public service into a value-added industry, okay? And I think we see this vision and we see the technology leaps we're making and the service and the product leads we're making, offering this resonance around creating a new market and industry. And I think moving in that direction, we will be able to deal with the financing issue. We'll be able to deal with the issue of water stress. We'll be able to deal with the issue of behavior. So plugging into the process is a whole drive around developing new off-grid sanitation solutions. And one of the elements is that we're trying not to take the sting out of behavior. I mean, people like to flush, but you don't need 9 liters of water to flush. So we've been instrumental in pioneering a whole suite of what we call front-end systems or pedestals that can now operate at 1 liter per flush, okay? And we've seen that this has set a global trend, and we're finding people now going down to 300 milliliters of flush to 0 flush. We've seen small suction systems come on the market. Now, what that does is that it creates a whole new opportunities in the back end, because now it's about designing the size of your reactor. So a family of 4 would, on average, generate not more than 10 to 15 liters of human waste a day. That's 5 2-liter Coke bottles to deal with, then tons of waste. And that's the new opportunity. And I believe that with a whole lot of green thinking, with solar thinking, and new processes, we will be able to crack this and crack a new market. Okay.
Thank you.
The issue.
And Jay, you know, maybe on the new market opportunities, and because we were talking a little bit before we started recording about the current global health crisis, COVID-19, and how it is affecting South Africa and the sanitation economy in South Africa, and some of these changes in development pathways.
Yeah, so COVID, you know, though it's you know, the pandemic's been a big problem, but it's also been a big opportunity, because I think what it has done in the developing world of what has been invisible has been made visible. Okay, and the political response has started to realize that you know, if you have a number of these situations, whether it's driven by climate, floods, or other kind of pandemics, it's going to pose the same challenge. So we have to start restructuring this whole market, okay, that responds better and is more sustainable and more resilient going into the future. And responding to this COVID challenge and trying to roll out, you know, the very conventional solutions have become problematic. So now the language is moving back to say, you know, we think that institutionally, the system has not organized to be resilient enough, you know, from the public sector side. Maybe it's time we opened up the water and sanitation environment, okay, to this new market forces that would build the resilience, rather than it being a single dimension, public orientated service provision.
So you're seeing new openness to the new models that perhaps weren't visible before.
Yeah, so there's now a deep dive into opening up opportunities for the private sector to help accelerate and close, you know, some of the problem areas. Okay.
And can you give some examples? Can you give some examples of some of the movement that's currently happening?
So, you know, there was a big drive now to introduce mobile toilets. I mean, you know, who would have thought mobile toilets for festivals, etc., would be a solution in the time of a crisis? So, you know, in the emergency, the drive has been to get sanitation in fast in the COVID areas that are most challenging, informal and low-income areas. So mobile toilets with all its service offering around emptying, servicing, janitor, cleansing, disinfecting, have all those value adds have come from the industry. Okay, it's not a public sector offering. You know, the public sector is great at building infrastructure, but the heart of operation and maintenance over the years, we've come to learn, sits with the market. So government has realized that we have to enable the market, okay, and enable these players to come into the market, but we also need to change the behavior of the users. Okay, to say that, look, you get value if you start paying and using things properly. And I think that synergy is beginning to resonate as we see with many initiatives that we've started, around the globe, in Africa, etc., around fecal sludge management chain, and all those elements that, together with good information and good information platforms, together with using the information to do value adds, so instead of a person now can sit with the app and decide where's the nearest toilet, or can have an app to say there's a nearest service provider, can Google who gives the best service and who gives the cheapest service. These are value adds that, accelerates the industry and accelerates the behavior to change. And I think poor people have never had a sanitation market before. And they're beginning to explore it, and they're beginning to make their own decisions. And that's the exciting bit, that, with technology, with new knowledge, with the repackaging, we're creating this new impetus in the sanitation sector.
So an acceleration of the digitization of sanitation as
Yes.
well, even for the most vulnerable who are getting access to information that they and services that they didn't have before. And Jay, how do you see the future outlook of this? You talked about it, a promising pathway that South Africa, was already on. COVID-19 exposing vulnerabilities in resilience and making visible new solutions, new acceptance. So what do you see changing? From where you thought we would be maybe in 2021 when we started the year, and where you think we're going to be in 2021 now?
My own views.
Yes, your own views.
Is that it's quite radical.
As an expert,
if we're able to decouple sanitation from the public environment and push it exclusively into the market space, completely. I mean, then I think we're going to really move in leaps and bounds, and I think we're nearly there. We're beginning to see the shift happening. It's gradual, but the shift happens when industry also shifts as well. And at the moment, we're beginning to see the shift in the customer base, but we're not seeing the financing shifts. We're not seeing the industrial shifts, the private sector shifts significantly to really ignite the marketplace. I mean, there's still, people are very conservative, very rigid, big pipes, big infrastructure, sort of gets the kind of glory and satisfaction. And I think that, working down the pyramid is a bit too messy. But I believe that the action, what you would call dollars and cents, sit at the bottom of the pyramid. Okay, how you access them is very important, and that comes with the value offerings of what we're trying to create with the whole digital world of sanitation, with a whole new product line, with a whole new servicing line. And that's where I see the future going to be.
Thank you, Jay. And you won't have seen this yet. This is coming to you shortly as members of the Toilet Board Coalition. But as you know, we run an annual accelerator program where our members, our large corporate members, select the most promising sanitation economy businesses that they see each year to mentor. And we have the biggest group coming from South Africa. So we're also seeing real swells of innovation and real swells of new solutions, particularly in South Africa. And again, I think attributed to a lot of the work that you've been doing in building these pipelines. And so we really look forward to, as you say, making that vision come true for 2021 in our partnership in South Africa. Thank you, Jay.
That's exciting
Namaste.
news. Namaste. Thank you. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you.